Hey, I'm Jamie from Stonemaier Games, and today I'm going to talk about my favorite games, my top 10 favorite games of 2025 so far. This is my mid-year video, and I'll let you know, I will include some games that were not widely available in 2024, but became widely available in 2025, even though they were available to some people in 2024. So far, for my company, Stonemaier Games, we've released a few games this year. We've released Finspan. That's our big newest game. We also released Tokaido, or our version of Tokaido, not necessarily a new game at all. It's been around for a while, but we released our version of it this year, along with Between Two Castles Essential Edition. Again, not really a new game, but a combined version of the original Between Two Castles with the expansion all in one box. Also, around the time that this recording goes live, we will be launching Vantage on our web store. So Vantage hasn't really been released yet or launched yet, so I'm not considering that. Also, as usual, Stonemaier Games aren't eligible for my top 10 list here, but I wanted to mention them because I love these games and I am hoping that you are enjoying them as well. For our panelists, I asked our panelists about this, and our family gamer, Skiler, actually said that Finspan was her favorite family game of the year so far, or favorite game of 2025 so far, from the family gamer perspective. She says, this game has been so much fun. We love Wingspan and Wormspan, but this version with fish has quickly become our favorite. It is wonderful for families as the cards are played face up, making it easy to guide younger players. I think Skylar is referring to how your hand of cards is face up, so nothing is hidden from the other players. You can help out other players at the table rather easily, and the cards have icons on them instead of text. She says, plus it is so fun to learn about the different fish and the zones they live in. I highly recommend checking it out. Thank you, Skylar, for saying that. Skylar also mentions two non-Stonemaier games, Creature Caravan and Dragon Eclipse. Creature Caravan was one of my favorite games from 2024. Our digital gamer, Kaitlyn, says, my favorite game of 2025 so far is Zenith. I've been mostly playing 1v1 against my mom on Board Game Arena for a few months now. We keep trying different strategies, and we seem to be evenly matched. I love the unique tug-of-war mechanism, which I don't think I've seen in any other board game. And I always enjoy a game with multi-use cards. I'd like to try it on the table, but I think it does work well digitally because multi-use cards can be confusing for some players, and BGA does a good job at showing each card's options. This is actually the first time that I've heard of Zenith when Kaitlyn mentioned it, so I am very curious to check it out. Also, our solo gamer, Aryn, says that their favorite game so far this year is Molly House, designed by Joe Kelly and Cole Wherle, the solo mode designed by Richard Wilkins. And this is Aryn's perspective on this, and this is a game that I played and enjoyed as well. Aryn says, based on the persecution of the queer community in early 18th century London, players take on the role of Mollies to try and get as much joy as possible. I love that mechanism, trying to just be happy, while avoiding the Society for the Reformation of Manners by basically playing poker. Yes, that description is reductive, but it does speak to why I love this game so much. It has lofty things on its mind. The way it can get players around the table to feel empathetic to the queer community, but also having the sense of dread that you may not make it to the end alive. Will you stick with your community, or will you betray them to make sure a noose isn't around your neck by the game's end? Winning by being a successful informant that brings down a Molly House also feels terrible, or it feels absolutely terrible. You want to see the queer community thrive. It is joyous when they do, so come take a seat and let's play some poker. And last, we have our new heavy gamer panelist, Dillon, adding his perspective on also Zenith as his favorite game of 2025 so far. Dillon says, I don't always like tug-of-war games, but the nuances of the science and tech system and responding to your opponent in this one really makes it feel like the best of both an abstract game and a thematic board game. Thank you to all these panelists for weighing in with their thoughts. If you are a solo gamer, digital gamer, heavy gamer, family gamer, you have their perspectives to go by. And now I will start to share with you my perspectives, starting with my honorable mentions. I have Windmill Valley, Wondrous Creatures, Art Society, Wilmot's Warehouse, Ostia, Crits and Tricks, Eternal Decks, and Cryptmaster. Cryptmaster is a digital game. All these are games that I really enjoyed. I would gladly play them again. Really, the only reason that Crits and Tricks in particular isn't on the top 10 list is that I got to play an early copy. A friend of mine is the designer. It will not be widely available until later in 2025 or in 2026. So it might show up on my 2026 list. So let's look at the top 10, starting with Life. Here we go. Life of the Amazonia. This is, and you'll see some of the games on this list are games that I recently played at Geekway to the West and really enjoyed them, and this was one of those games. This is a game, well, it's a game about a couple different things, but primarily it is a bag building game. And before I got into the game, I thought that you were bag building with the animal tokens themselves. That is not the case. You're bag building with resource tokens, and you're using those resource tokens to advance on various tracks. And those tracks give you things like terrain tiles. They give you cards with instant benefits or late game goals. You can also acquire new animals to put into your habitats. And kind of the crux of the game is about those animals. Getting enough resources to pay for the animals, which you can't really see in this photo, but they're on these cards over here. You put out a different spread of animals in the game, and you stack a bunch of tiles, animal tokens on those cards. Each animal has a different cost. Once you can afford an animal, oftentimes you buy that animal and you must place it in your habitat. There are small animals that go on single hexes, and then larger animals that stretch across 2 hexes. And so in this game, there's this really nice tension where you start off with a very small habitat and a starting animal, and you place that animal in the habitat, and you start to get a few animals and fill up that habitat. But quickly you see that you need more room. And this is the wonderful flexibility and progression in this game, in that you start to buy more terrain tiles to expand your rainforest and add, so that you can add more animals to it. And in doing so, you are deciding on certain terrain tiles because there's a spatial puzzle related to the end game goals on each of these animals. Not only do they have cost and sometimes even instant benefits, but they have end game goals. Like these otters, they might want to be in a really long river. And so this player tried to construct a really long river. I think that's the goal with otters. There's a bunch of different goals on all the different animals, but I love how the goals on the animals and the scarcity of the animals relates to the scarcity of the space in your personal tableau, and how you need to expand at a certain rate. And it's a tile placement game in an animal placement game and a bag building game. It's a lot of different games in one. It's heavier than you think, and I had a great time with it. I'm putting it at number 10 right now, but I could see this changing in the future. This is Life of the Amazonia. At number 9, I have one of 2 digital games on the list, and one of them is called Dome Keeper. This game is a little bit of a cheat on this list because it did come out a while ago. This is not a 2025 release, but I discovered it in 2025, and I think it's worth highlighting now because it is a really delightful game. It's a game about protecting your base. You have this base on an alien planet, and the aliens are attacking you because you showed up at their planet and they don't want you there. And so you are building up and protecting this base, and you're doing so by digging down. Let's see if I have a screenshot of digging down. Yeah, here you go. So you're digging down underground to unearth resources and discover new technology that you can use to improve your dome. So there's this race for time where you're digging down underground before racing back up with these resources to put them into your dome and to protect your dome and to be there to fight back against the invaders. It is a high stress game, but it is a pretty good type of stress. And my favorite thing about the game is as you discover new relics, new technology, they give your base a boost, but they also unlock an entire tech tree of things that you can upgrade on your base if you pay certain resources. And I thought this was so cool that the upgrades that you add to your base also have upgrades themselves that you can improve upon within that category of upgrade. It feels so good to have these discover these new tech trees and then expand upon these tech trees as you play. I had a blast playing Dome Keeper. I will return to it. I just need to do it not right before I go to bed because it is an intense, stressful game that will get your heart beating. That is Dome Keeper, the first of 2 digital games. The second of the 2 digital games is Blueprints. Now, this is a game that I played the demo last year in 2024. I think it showed up on one of my 2024 lists, but the full release is this year, and I think it is worth highlighting in 2025 because this is a delightful tile placement exploration game. Part of the game is about tile placement. You walk into a room, you are shown 3 tiles, and you choose which of those tiles will become that room, and then you place that tile, and then you walk into that room. And that room, you get to see from a first-person perspective. And so you're trying to solve a puzzle of placing 46 tiles, essentially, which is rather difficult to do because you have a limited amount of movement. A lot of the rooms have closed doors, but also the rooms have puzzles in them, visual puzzles that you need to really pay attention to your surroundings to solve. And that is why the rooms, as you walk into the room or walk around this mansion, you are seeing the rooms from a first-person perspective. The game is actively asking you to use your eyes on an ongoing basis. to solve the mysteries of this mansion. And the mysteries go much deeper than just about discovering 46 rooms, but that is the first like 15 to 20 hours of the game of doing that. I'm still only on like day 15. Most people I think who have gone into this game have gone much deeper than that. But even for me, someone who doesn't play many digital games, but does enjoy them in small doses, I have really, really enjoyed this game, and I would highly recommend it to anyone who loves tile placement games or games that actively ask you to use your eyes to look around, and where the art isn't just set dressing. The art is there for a reason, for a purpose. That is Blueprints at number 8. Let's go back to tabletop games for the rest of this video, and we have Panda Royale here at number 7. This is another game at Geekway that pleasantly surprised me. I wasn't expecting to play this. This is a game with a giant bag of dice, all sorts of colors and shapes of dice, and what you're doing in this game is over 10 rounds, you are acquiring a total eventually of 12 or even more dice I'm sorry, not 12, 10 or more dice. Each round, you are drafting a die. Someone is drawing up a dice equal to the number of players, maybe +1 out of the bag, and putting them on the table. And each player is going to draft one of those dice. And then, simultaneously with all players, you will roll all those dice. And the dice all mean different things, but they're all about gaining points. They just gain points in different ways. Like purple dice. When you roll a purple die, you double the number on it. That's the number of points that you get from it. Red dice have negative points on them, but they also have positive points. And whenever you roll a red die or roll red dice, there's a multiplier involved in terms of the number of points that you're going to get. Blue dice, there's a multiplier if you have a sparkly blue die. As you can see, like every type of die has its own little puzzle. Yellow is related to the turn order. There's a type of die where you can steal dice from other players. But the core of the game is that you are rolling more and more dice round to round. So there's this strong sense of progression over the course of the game where you're rolling just one die at the beginning, but by the end of the game, you're rolling this giant handful of 10 dice and hoping that you have a great roll. It is a blast to play. We played it at the full player count, 10 players at Geekway, and we had a blast playing it. It only took around 45 minutes. Like, you don't want this type of game to overstay its welcome. And for 10 players, 45 minutes, that was amazing. I had a blast playing this. I would gladly play this. And it's one that I might even purchase because I think it is one that will be a lot of fun to play with a variety of different people who maybe are newer to games, but also just really enjoy games and want something that doesn't require a lot of thought, but feels good to roll a lot of dice. That is Panda Royale at number 7. And number 6 is a game called Gudnak. And this is mostly a 2-player game where you are pitting your deck of cards against their unique deck of cards. And it is so it's a little bit like these. It is somewhat a collectible card game, but you have your own unique deck, and there's a spatial element to it that I think is really, really key to the game. The goal of the game is to reduce the opponent's deck to nothing while having them under siege, which means that you have an opponent right in front of their deck. You are deploying units to the row in front of you, and then moving them out around the board, having them interact with the opponent's units, trying to take them out, and trying to get close enough so you can put their own deck under siege. At which point, instead of them drawing cards during their turn, they are discarding cards from their deck because they're under siege. I think that is one of my favorite mechanisms in this game, that you're putting your opponent under siege at certain times of the game, but there's a big struggle to get over there to do that. But I also really like the card stacking element of this game. Ooh, there's someone's hand really up close. Let's see if I can zoom in down here a little bit. Here's an example of some cards. Neither of them appear to be stacked here, but you can play cards on top of one another if they share the same type. And that way, if I put a card on top of this Faithful Servant card, and I attack someone else with a card on top, and say we trade, say your unit is taken out, my unit is taken out, only the part of that stack is removed. After that, this card remains. So I really like that stacking element in the game where the space is very, very tight. I've had a lot of fun playing Gudnak, and I backed the expansion for it to combine with a friend's copy, and will continue to really enjoy playing the game. That is Gudnak at number 6. At number 5, we have Endeavor Deep Sea. This is one of the most beautiful games on this list. In fact, all the art in all these games is really unique and beautiful in different ways, but I love how the tiles in this game in Endeavor Deep Sea fit together as you go deeper and deeper into the ocean. Together with all the players, you are building this ocean. You're exploring the same ocean together, but you get a big benefit when you decide to explore a tile. And I love in particular how the mechanisms of each tile are uniquely designed based on the theme of that tile. So for example, this is a whale fall, a whale carcass that is drifted all the way down and settled on the bottom of the ocean. It's been picked clean. The mechanisms on this card are related to this specific theme of a whale at the bottom of the ocean. Even though these icons are used throughout the entire game, they're common icons, common actions used throughout the entire game. I just love how they don't add complexity to the game, but they're directly designed based on the theme of each individual tile. It's really a remarkable feat of design for them to be able to pull that off. There's so much more I like about this game. I love the action system and how you grow and progress. You grow in power throughout the game based on your player mat and the different actions that you have access to, as well as which side of the tiles those actions, which are people, they're characters in the game, which side of the tiles they're on. There's a lot of wonderful things in this game. I'm having a blast with Endeavor Deep Sea at number 5 on this list. And number 4, my number 4 favorite game of 2025 so far is a game called Here Lies. This game definitely caught me off guard and surprised me. I was not expecting a deduction game to be on this list, but it is a cooperative deduction game in the style of cooperative game that I really love, where all players get to be clever in different ways. There's the player who knows the facts of the case. They know the full facts, but they are deciding which clues to give to the players and how to give clues to players based on what the other players are doing, the players who are trying to solve the case. They are given a number of different methods to try to get clues from the player who has the full information. There are word clues. There are clues where you're choosing to like draw a picture or cross out letters in words. It's like every type of cooperative deduction game or cooperative game where you have limited information between the two players, like So Clover, Just One, Caution Signs, Blob Party. It's all those games mashed into one where you're trying to solve a mystery together. I'm having a blast with this. I'm only 2 cases in so far, and there are 23 more cases to solve. And I look forward to exploring this both as the investigator and as the lead investigator and as the other investigators. I've played both roles and had fun with both of them so far in Here Lies at number 4 on my list. On number 3 on my 2025 list, one of the games that I bought so far this year because I enjoyed it so much is Mistborn, the deck building game. This is a deck building game where you are trying to either competitively or cooperatively win the game. I've only played the competitive version so far. I haven't played the cooperative version. But the game is based on the amazing Mistborn fantasy trilogy, or the first trilogy at least, where you're using different metals to power up cards. And in front of you, you have all the different metals that you need, except for Atium. That's another one that you get to gain later. But you have most of the metals that you need to use to play cards or to fully leverage their abilities. But also, all the cards that you have in the game, let's see if I can get a close-up on one of those cards. All the cards in the game also have the metals built into them. Here we go. So I can use this card if I want as a metal, if I want to charge up another card. So you have access to these metals in 2 different ways. I think there's a lot of great mechanisms in this game tied to the deck building, but I think the thing that I love the most about the game so far is the targeting system in the competitive game, especially for a game that scales up to 4 players. There's this great targeting system where if you have the target on you, then all players are dealing damage to you. And one of the ways to win the game is by knocking out all other players. There is another way based on these paths over here to win the game as well, these missions. But there's also a way to win the game or with the targeting system. If I have the target on me and I deal damage, I deal that damage to each other player. And so this is kind of the King of Tokyo targeting system. It isn't entirely innovative, but I haven't seen it for a long time in a game. And I think it works really, really well in the game. It means that I'm not picking on any particular player. If I'm hitting all players, or if a player has the target, they've probably chosen to have that target. Not always, but sometimes they've chosen to at least keep the target. And so you don't feel bad about hitting them as well. I think this is a wonderful way to have an attack mechanism in a multiplayer game. This puts Mistborn, the deck building game, at number 3 on my list so far this year. And number 2, another surprise. This list is full of surprises. This is Nunatak, the Temple of Ice. This is a game that combines set collection in the form of cards that you're gaining on your turn. You're choosing one card to gain from a face-up display. It combines that with a spatial temple building game where you're building this giant temple with all other players. You have your own ice block colors and you are contributing them to this temple. And based on where you place them and when certain sections or rows are completed, you are gaining points based on your ice blocks. But it seamlessly combines this with these cards that you're gaining that are giving you set collection, both that help you level up during the game, but also move you towards more points at the end of the game. And both of them, from the game that we played, both of the types of the points of the game seem very relevant, very balanced between the points that you gain from the temple itself and the points that you're gaining from the set collection of the cards. And they're not separate systems. The card that you choose it has an icon on it that corresponds to the icons on this ice temple. So if I gain a card with this icon, the builder icon, I think this is builder icon, then that is where I must place one of my ice blocks. I must place one of them on that specific icon on the temple. Really, really cool game. If you like games where you're building something together with the other players, and if you like set collection, they come together seamlessly in Nunatak, my number 2 favorite game of 2025 so far. Last up is a game that I've played in different forms before, but this is the first time that I've played the card game version of Rajas of the Ganges. This is a game that was a dice game, and then it was a roll and write game, and now it is also a game that is about playing cards. As much as I love the previous versions of Rajas, this might actually be my favorite, or at least it's my favorite right now because it's so, I don't know, it's a really, really clever version of the game. So in the original Rajas, the hook was that there are 2 different victory tracks that intersect. This mechanism has now been popularized in Arc Nova, where you have conservation and you have tickets. I think that's the other type of point in the game. Rajas had that system before Arc Nova did, and it implemented it really well. You're trying to get these 2 victory points. Maybe you're just focusing on one. Maybe you're focusing on the other. Typically, you're focusing a little bit on both. In Rajas, what is it called? It has Cards and Karma. I'm thinking of it as the card game, but Cards and Karma. You have a row of 6 cards in front of you, and the entire goal of the game is to flip all 6 of those cards. It is a race to flip all 6 cards, and you can flip them from left to right by gaining these fans up here, these fans, or you can flip. So 3 fans flips a card. That is one type of point in the game. Or you can flip the cards from right to left by spending 6 coins. So throughout the game, you were trying to select cards from a central tableau to accomplish one of those goals, to either get coins in a variety of different ways, often related to goods. You're trying to get coins so you can flip a card, or try to get the fans. So you get 3 fans, and then you get to flip a card as well. These are often related to the buildings, which you might recognize from the original Rajas. And it uses this card system where you're spending cards from hand to gain, like this card costs 8 value worth of blue cards. So you're spending blue cards from your hand that are worth at least 8 to get this card, and that gives you some goods, and it also gives you a fan. But this core, I don't know, there's a lot of mechanisms in the game that I really like related to the cards, but I love how they were able to capture this giant score track in the relatively small space of 6 cards. You're flipping them to gain points in one way, or flipping them from the other side to gain points in the other way. Really, really clever mechanism that makes it feel like Rajas, but also makes it stand alone as its own game about cards, flipping these cards and gaining the resources to flip these cards. That doesn't take up that much space, that is very easy to set up and very easy to play. I can't wait to play this game again. I can't. It was at my board game night a few nights ago, but I was in another game, didn't get to play it, and I was very jealous because I was very excited to play this game again and try some different strategies. That is Rajas, Cards and Karma as my number 1 game of 2025 so far. I'd love to hear your thoughts on your favorite games of 2025 so far. As you can see on this list, I talked about games that are brand new, newly released games. I talked about games that maybe were available in 2024, but were widely available in 2025. I talked about tabletop games, card games, digital games. I talked about a few games that are new implementations of older games. That's okay too. Anything goes for this mid-year list. Let me know your number 1, your number 3, your number 5 favorite games of 2025 so far, and feel free to let me know why, especially if you give me a shorter list. Let me know why you picked that number 1 game in particular. And if you don't mind, I'd love to hear your favorite game from my list as well. Whether it's the list, my top 10, the honorable mentions, the panelist picks, or the Stonemaier games that I mentioned at the beginning of the video. All right, I look forward to hearing your list, and we'll consider these games as we get to the end of the year as well. Thanks.